1, 2, 3, 4. That's before your time. Yeah. Hello, welcome to another episode of Hops and Handshake. This is episode 12. I am your host, Isaac Oswald, and I'm with a good friend, Keith Boswell. Keith?
Good to see you, Isaac.
Hey, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We chose the establishment of Elk Brewing here at Comstock Park, right next to Fifth Third Ballpark. Yes. It's a great establishment. Keith, what are you drinking there?
I'm drinking an ESB. How about yourself?
I am drinking the Scotch Ale. Scotch Ale. Cheers, buddy. Cheers. Cheers. Alex, what are you drinking? Ooh, yes, that sounds oodalale nice. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah.
So what's been going on in your world?
Not much. Getting back out on my own.
Yeah.
Starting over. It's kind of fun, scary.
Yeah, good for you.
Exciting at the same time. So.
It's a blank slate, man.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, I've been in digital marketing my whole career, 21 years now, and it's just a fun world. So
sure.
I love it.
Talk to me about some of those experiences that you deem fun, valuable, that makes you stay in this space.
I mean, I think to me it's the ever-changing world, right? It's like things stay the same, content's king, having a voice is king, but the technologies are always changing, and the pace of change has only sped up. And to me, that's just thrilling. I mean, I don't like sitting still. I don't like. I don't like staying the same. So it's fun to push ahead.
It's uncomfortable for a lot of people.
It is. Yeah. Well, and it's. I mean, we're this far into it, and we're still educating people about getting involved, right?
I think it's just getting started too.
Yeah.
Really.
Right.
Like we're on the. It feels like, we have, as we have clients that, have built their businesses long before this stuff ever came along.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then to see all the changes that's happened in the last 10 years, you're like, what the hell? Because this didn't happen at all. There was not this rate of change the first 50 years that's what happened here.
No.
And then when I tell them, when I really want to stress them out, I tell them, I'm like, it's just getting started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to do that, to enjoy that, you do have to be one that's comfortable with change and how it shifts.
I tell people all the time, I mean, I've been in digital my whole career, but at least half of my work has been psychology, right? I mean, it's...
Okay, that's a key point.
You're dealing with change and people's fear of change. And when they're scared of something or they're intimidated by something, their tendency is to reject it. And yet their customers' expectations just keep changing. So a lot of times it's like, I got to keep them on the couch and guide them through it. It's just like, come on.
The psychology background is helpful both, not to mention the nurturing part that you have with people that you work with. But on the other end, there's all these platforms. There's, I look at my phone and I have a notification from Twitter, Slack, Facebook, the Skim. I have all these notifications here and a few other, all those are communication ways, right? But at the end of the day, there's a human on the other side of the phone.
Yep.
So I guess when all this rate of change that you talk about and all the stuff I have, the one thing that's constant is you're connecting to another human.
Yep.
So I think I tried to explain it. I think we did this earlier. We talked about this earlier, where it's like, look, most people are extremely comfortable here, especially if you're a classic outside sales, something like that. You're like, cool, get me here because I can use my 5 senses staring right at you. I can see your body language. I can see your tone of your voice. I can see that you're not going to talk to me. When it goes here, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. They get paralyzed. But but I try to just help people, like, there's somebody at the other end, just one person.
Yep.
Not mass markets. There's just one-on-one interaction at the other end of that phone. And the psychology allows you to kind of dissect of what that person wants to see, but just what that person wants to see and how they're viewing it shifts due to all the mediums that are out there.
All the time.
But it's still it's still people to people.
Yep.
There's still just another human on the other line. But the way in which we connect, and you have to be open to that. Like I'm agnostic. Like I say this, Alex has heard this a lot of time. I have a fax machine for a few clients and a couple friends in particular. That's the way they want to communicate. And then I have people that would rather Snapchat me, right?
Right.
So
you got to be open to all of it.
Exactly. If we want to communicate with somebody else today, we cannot be romantic about the platform that they choose.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, exactly. So, tell me as you move forward, like you've got some really good ideas, and you've got a really solid base. Well, let's talk about it. Talk about your past career and some of the things that you've done, and then we can dive into some of your future opportunities that you're looking at.
Yeah. So, started a web design company
Sure.
with some college friends in 1996.
Oh, wow.
We saw the opportunity in the internet. We knew no one would hire us for the jobs that we thought we were qualified for, so we went and made them ourselves.
All right, where are we? Where are we in the country? Are we here in West Michigan?
No, actually. So I'm from Tennessee originally, grew up in Texas.
Okay.
Went to college in Texas.
Okay.
3 friends from Texas and I moved to Oregon.
Are you surprised that Texas is still part of the United States?
Nah, they always threaten that they're going to secede.
I don't know,
see.
man.
We'll
Whenever
see.
I go down there, I'm surprised that they haven't left yet. But anyway,
there's a pride.
There is a pride.
They always, when anytime you're talking about that, you have the right to secede. It's.
Are you a Dallas Cowboy fan?
I always was as a kid. Yeah. So
all right. Are you
kinda,
still?
I just don't get to watch sports as much as I used to.
The kids, you got kids, they get you going. All right.
But I know I know the owner's a pretty inflammatory guy now.
We digress,
Yeah.
but this is for my wife's sake. Dallas Cowboys, Detroit Lions. Who do you root for?
You got to go for the Lions. I have to. I do because my father-in-law is a diehard Lions fan.
Well, they haven't won a damn thing.
Yeah, I know,
right,
and
cool.
it's the underdog factor.
Right,
What about
cool.
you?
Oh, definitely Lions. I married into it.
Okay.
My wife watched every single game when they went 0-16.
That's dedication.
She likes misery. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's open for discussion. She married me. Another topic for another day. All right, your career back. You're in Texas, and then you're moving around. You got a web development company.
Yep. Started that, and we went to a small market. We went to Bend, Oregon. We kind of knew we weren't ready for Portland or Seattle or somewhere else. Okay. Bend was a small resort town.
It was a great
snowboarding,
area.
skis.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yes,
Whitewater rafting and all that. Yeah.
And we were the first kind of web-only agency, so we locked down most of the business there.
This is late 90s?
Late 90s. So, and what was interesting was the web started changing more towards more like it is today, more software. All the engineers were going to Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco.
Yep.
So we actually, the year that we had our best revenue, we closed the business because we were like, 2 years from now, we won't be competitive. It's not that we don't want to be. It's that to attract the talent that we need to keep growing.
It's not here.
And our clients thought we were crazy. Everybody was like, "What are you doing? You've built this business." And it was the right thing to do. So my wife and I moved to Seattle. I worked for a couple agencies there.
Okay.
Got to work with Microsoft and Dell and a bunch of other big companies.
There's heavy tech there. Everybody thinks about Silicon Valley, but when you go to Seattle,
it was the early days of Amazon. Yeah. I mean, we had Cosmo, 30-minute delivery, and it was just a fascinating time because everywhere, everyone was getting tech jobs, .com jobs, and so it was a fascinating time to be there. And we caught the tail end of kind of the boom and the bust, right? It was all of a sudden you go from everyone throwing these gigantic parties and having all this fun, spending all this money, to massive.
It's always a sign
layoffs.
of the end is nearing.
Right.
All right, so you're in Seattle now.
Yep.
A couple agencies.
Yep.
What year are we?
This was up to 2002.
Okay, 2002 happens. What happens next?
2002, one of the guys I'd started my first company with had a search firm that they'd started in San Francisco.
Okay.
I had kind of just on the side started writing their newsletter for them, their email newsletter, and I think it was like it's like the 6th or 7th issue. CNN called, and they're like, "I want to talk to you about this issue that you just wrote about this campaign."
Yeah.
And luckily I was working for this agency. My boss was really cool, and he's like, "Well, go down. You can do the interview." And so it was a few months later I ended up going to work for them, and we were a 4-person company. I helped come in, rewrote the business plan, focused on growing the accounts that we had. And that company ended up getting bought, and then that company got bought. And so we went from like we grew to like 12 people ourselves, and then a company of 300, and then Axiom, the big data company, bought them, and we were suddenly a company of 6,000.
Oh, wow.
So that was great. We got to do all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. Very cool.
And then went to work. So I'd done a lot of work with a client there, a healthcare client, Kaiser Permanente, one of the biggest health systems out west. And in 2007, ended up joining them first as an internet strategist.
Okay.
And then became director of digital marketing and social.
So talk to me what happened in 2007 as an internet strategist. What was going on? So that's 10 years ago, right?
It was funny, like social media at that point was still blogging.
Okay.
I mean, Facebook was just on campuses. I actually remember in 2008 when I was on a webinar and this guy's like, hey, you've got to set up a Facebook account. And, I'm sitting in my home office watching it snow and getting on Facebook for the first time. Twitter wasn't around. So it was a lot of paid search, email.
Google was driving most of the traffic.
Google was doing most everything.
Got it.
And so, it was and no hint of mobile at all. I mean,
no.
So, everything
in 2007, I had a Trail.
Yeah.
Trail 650 with a stylus.
Okay.
And it was pretty slick.
Nice.
Like it was, you felt pretty special when you walked around the Trail 650. I had one of those. Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Palm Pilots were key.
Exactly. So, fast forward, you do that for a little while.
Yeah.
What brings you to West Michigan?
So my wife's from Michigan.
Okay. That's enough said.
We met in Oregon, Yep.
And
so when I took the job with Kaiser, they're based in Oakland. I said, look, I'll travel as much as I need to, but we want to have our family set up in Michigan. And so I was a home-based contractor for them for close to 7 years.
Okay.
Traveling out west all the time and did that. So it was a lot of fun.
All right, so last 10 years, number one thing that you've seen that is consistent in the world of such change?
I think the demand for transparency from companies, right? I mean, I think that's good. The big shift was suddenly companies, you couldn't just push, right? I mean, you start getting Yelp reviews, you start getting City Search, you start getting Google reviews, and suddenly there's what people say about you is just as important as what you're saying, if not more important, right? And I think Amazon really, like them tying so much into consumer reviews, it was just it shifted the whole mentality, right? And so I'll never forget being in healthcare and talking to doctors about, well, have you seen your Yelp page? And they're like, I get it, and they're like, they want to call their attorney, right? Yeah, they're like,
we need to get off Yelp.
And it's like, look, this is, you've been able to get away with bad bedside manner for your career. Now people are talking about it.
All it is I tell people it's always been happening.
Oh, yeah.
So, I go to the doctor punches me in the face, no, just figuratively. I don't like what the doctor did. And I might tell you as a good friend, say, hey man, maybe he had a bad day, blah, 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 but, he wasn't the most kind person I've ever met next to me.
Right.
That has happened as long as humans have been alive.
Yeah.
The little phone there has allowed that to take that one-on-one interaction and amplify it to one to infinite.
Yeah.
So nothing's changed.
Right. No.
You just now see the word of mouth that's happening.
Right.
When you weren't there face to face.
Right. And strangers
can
interact with it. Yeah.
But that's where
I think companies have to own that today. Right?
Yeah.
I think if you don't, you're doing a huge disservice not only to the organization but really your customers, because you're in denial.
You're in denial, and we go through the exercise. We talked about this last time. We go through the exercise with our clients where they say, well, we need to let everybody know we're the best. We're this, and we're this, and what the hell does that mean?
Right.
Right. And so that guy over there is been in business 40 years, got a SWAT team. They do a great job. They got reviews out the website. He says he's the best.
Right.
I show up. You and I grab a shingle. We nail it to a place we just ran on a month-by-month basis. And we say, Keith and I, we're the best.
Right.
We're both the best.
Right.
What's the differentiator?
Right.
Today, you have the opportunity to be more transparent and document. Don't tell me.
Right.
Don't tell me you're tall.
Right.
If you walk through the doorway and you got a duck, I know you're tall. You don't have to tell me.
Right.
Tell me what makes. Show me the things that make you amazing. Show me if you want to tell me that you're like really customer centric. Show me that you pick up the phone. Document that day in the life, and show me that you pick up the phone at 7:47 at night when XYZ happened and nobody else picked up the phone.
Yeah.
Show me, with that. Don't, transparency. It's scary for a lot of people because they feel like they're going to show their warts, but it's proven, man. Statistics prove it over and over, and back to psychology. We trust people more.
Yeah.
After they mess up, and then they redeem themselves, handle the mess up really well, and they take care of the mess up, and then we trust them more than the person that's never messed up.
Oh yeah,
because we don't trust not messing up because we're human.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, the weight that people put into everyone's fearful of a negative review.
Sure.
And yet, to me, that's an opportunity, right? It's like
we say the same thing.
You can respond. You can do something about it.
You can ignore it.
You could ignore it. But I mean, it's amazing. You look at how people are even choosing products. A 1-star review sometimes
is your best friend.
Because you're like, oh well, that's not how I'm going to use it. That person's describing a scenario that is not what I'm thinking. So thank you for saying that.
Well,
because that's kind of what I was thinking.
Two things. Number one, people understand that there are people out there that just want to see the world burn.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nothing's right.
Nothing's right. Okay. The second thing is, it allows you to see how does this person respond.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Customer, I'm really sorry you feel that way. We try to do this, we try to do that, we try to do this, but you know what? We're not perfect.
Right.
And sometimes we don't meet expectations, and we'll try to make it right, but if we can't make it right, I really apologize, and we'll do X, Y, Z and thing. I mean, and if I read that, I'd be like, especially as a business owner, right. I have deep empathy for anybody going through that. I'm like, hey man, I'm in. That guy's a real human being.
Yeah.
Or that girl really put herself out there and let herself get the black eye.
Yeah. Customer service is where it's always going to be.
Sure.
There's no.
So you've had a really cool, and then you brought here. You were working at that for that firm.
Yeah.
And then you go to Meyer.
Yeah. Well, so then I had a consulting business for 3 years.
Got it.
And then went to Meyer for 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. How was? What did you learn from Meyer?
Boy, it's that's about scale and size.
It's a monster.
And really,
it's a great family
customer
business.
Expectations. Oh yeah, it's a great business. I mean, it's amazing though. I mean, talking about like reviews and triggers.
Sure.
And, you push advertising through social. It didn't always elicit what you want, right? Sometimes it's like, hey, I just had a great service experience. People are commenting on an ad, Other times it's like, hey, this, you're not living up to this. And the great thing about that is your customers are in a dialogue with you, right? They're setting their.
It's so good you bring that up.
They're displaying their expectations and giving you an opportunity to do something about it.
The number one thing, the number one reason why, or I shouldn't say number one, a huge reason why you can screw up on social media is thinking it's an advertising platform.
Oh yeah.
When really it's just a text message with your buddy.
Yeah.
But everybody gets to see it.
Right.
It's a communication platform.
Yeah.
So you don't. I attribute Facebook to people as it's happy hour.
Right.
So I'm not going to walk through the door at 4 o'clock on happy hour and meet all my buddies and say 20% off. Here I am.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I can do that every now and then, but if I do that one time, the 19 other times better be helping, nurturing, funny, entertaining, talking about sports, that kind of stuff, right? Building a rapport, building a relationship. But the main thing you said is this digital media, this social media, this stuff like that. It's a two-way street. Standard, before we started in the internet, everything that the advertising agencies and marketing companies was a one-way dictation. Here's what I want you to feel.
Right.
This is really one-way dictation does not work on a two-way platform.
No.
Right? And I think it's a beautiful thing that somebody gets the feedback. I want to hear. I want to hear when somebody thinks we need to improve. Because I want to improve.
It's a challenge too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell people it's like, most television commercials don't end with the 800 number, right? Someone standing by to talk to you now, and yet everything we do in social, that comment box is there, and consumers use it. And again, to me, I think the businesses that are really standing out, and I mean, we're in a world where now, whether you like it or not, people are comparing you to Amazon and Uber, if not just from a convenience factor, but just an interaction form. I mean, all these friction reduction and trying to make business easier.
I've said it before, but
there's these mental models.
Bezos is a gangster, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's coming after anybody's lunch.
Everybody.
Yeah.
But so the businesses, if you're a traditional business and you're going to stay competitive, it's because of the relationships. It's because you live what you say, and it's not just
because of the relationships.
Yep.
And then what is the most fundamental thing in a relationship would be communication.
Yeah, right. I mean,
and then choosing to communicate the way that person wants to communicate.
Right.
Because when you say relationships, the vast majority of who's going to watch this, well, it automatically goes face to face.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And the relationship is however you want to communicate.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, we're going to interact face to face.
Yep.
But I'm also going to be, there's that 99% of the time that we're not.
Yep.
Now I've got avenues to still communicate.
Sometimes, sometimes somebody wants to communicate with you in a different way.
Right.
Sometimes somebody just wants to text you because they're in a meeting, or sometimes somebody wants to see what you're doing on Facebook because that's where they spend their time.
Right.
How does Facebook help me sell, or how does Instagram help me sell? Well, you make a funny video on Facebook when I'm, at a boring event that I'm supposed to go to, and I look to my phone to be entertained, and you shared with me a funny video, that makes me laugh. That helps our relationship. So the next time we talk, we've got something to talk about. Yeah. It's all together. Yeah. There's no silos. It's all together in the human relationship, which is how we connect.
Yeah.
All right, so how long have we been at this? 23 minutes. Perfect. We're doing well. Talk to me a couple minutes about future things that you want to work on.
Yep.
Because you're always working on projects and stuff like that, and you're always, you got a lot of good ideas.
It's funny, I find that I'm kind of one of these people that people tend to call, and I'm a sounding board.
Yeah.
I'm an advice agent, and I'm kind of also I'm always challenging
You're like the digital marketing therapist?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, my wife's always said it's like I'm like a digital philosopher, right? I'm also I'm thinking about where it's going, but also I have to be realistic about bringing everybody else along. Not everybody spends all day in this world, right?
Yes.
And so
if you're at level 7, most people are at level 2 and 3.
Yeah, right.
You got it. Yep.
So, a couple of things I'm thinking about. One is this opportunity I see amongst, you look at a lot of the public-facing leaders, Bezos, Gates, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg. These guys are already, kind of by default, they were already media people, and social media for them was just another easy extension of their brand.
Yeah, but they're already doing it.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. It's it was kind of natural to them.
Got it.
I think there's a lot of leaders that still have a lot, of horsepower,
second, third tier
in their
leaders,
careers,
development,
and they haven't really fully grasped. Because I still hear people say well, I'm not, I don't do a lot on LinkedIn because I'm not looking for a job, and it's that's not what LinkedIn
actually
is
just
today.
in the last. What's the date here? We'll get this out in a week or so, week and a half. It's November 21st. LinkedIn in the last 6 weeks has changed some algorithms, and it's getting very interesting.
It is getting,
especially with video content, and text content.
A lot
Absolutely.
more. You see a lot more of these long posts or spaced for mobile.
Long tail. Yep.
It has changed a lot, and I think I see a lot more
people really
dialogue.
need that help.
I know they do.
I think all this stuff is changing to whether they want to document themselves more with what they know, whether they want to advance in their career. I think this stuff is just changing to your new resume.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If I look at
it's your personal brand. Right?
And the personal brand doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a politician or Elon Musk. You know what I mean? Like the personal brand is meaningful, especially when we start diving into another topic, but influencer marketing.
Oh yeah.
Like I kind of like looking at the person that's got 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
Not LeBron.
Right.
LeBron's up here. LeBron wants LeBron cash.
Right.
But the 10,000 follower person that's got a little following, like that exposure is really nice.
It's
for
built credibility, and I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. I think a lot of leaders haven't plugged into yet is, a young person getting into the job market.
Yeah.
They're more likely to follow the leaders of the company than they are the brand, right? Because they're looking at how the leaders, what are they doing, right? And typically, like you look at brand posts, you look at what the brands are posting about. They're still posting about the things that they normally do.
They're in the middle of the road.
Right. Yeah. Right? It's not. You don't see personality. You don't. That's when you see that a company is a company.
But can you, if you're going to be a true leader of a company, who can I emotionally connect with? Who's a leader, and how do I get to know them deeper? Right. How do I get to know what they're doing and all that kind of stuff? That transparency.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's not even that you've got to be writing all the time or documenting everything you do. You've just got to have a purpose for being there and be dedicated to doing it. And so for me, I see an opportunity to help a whole wave of leaders plug into that.
Tell me this. Let's dissect this for the sake of marketing terms. Your buyer persona, your target market. Like, who is this target? Let's identify.
So this is someone in the C-suite or VPs that is well known in their industry, or even in their business, has been very successful, but
they're well known face to face world.
Face to face, exactly.
Yeah.
But they haven't translated that yet into their network, their digital network, right? And they haven't shown a purpose or a philosophy or even where they come from. I mean, to me, it's like there's a lot to learn from the generations that came ahead of me that I don't know, right? They learned they built their businesses in a world that was social without, all the media tools, right?
I wish I could go back in time and watch that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so it's like they have a lot to teach us, and I think it's helping them unlock that, because I think a lot of them don't think of themselves that way.
So, wrote an article for Space I Came From, LBM Journal, and I tell all the classics. I call the older gentlemen and they're mostly men. I call them classics.
Yeah.
I said, hey, do me a favor, go home tonight, pour yourself a nice drink, whatever your choice is. Tell your wife you're going to talk to yourself for a little bit, but you'll be fine. And go tell me stories. Just go tell me stories like the most challenging points. Go tell me stories from the 70s. Tell me stories, housing market. In 2008, when the builder told you that was out on you, a couple $100,000, that told you that he's not paying.
Right.
Tell me the stories, because all that experience is lost, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, no, very cool. I think you definitely have something there. It makes a ton of sense. We are technologically. Whatever.
Technologist?
No.
Technologically?
Thank you. Technologically.
All right.
Technologically. This would be a good one. You guys would be able to make fun of me on this one a lot. Yeah, this is cue in, a middle finger to my face. We are equipped to be able to document like this cool stuff, right? Which is pretty amazing. I think you're onto something there. Now, okay. One thing that you've learned that can help anyone with your career.
I think you've got to put the time in. It doesn't happen fast.
Yeah.
I think
There's no substitute.
I see a lot of expectations of movement quickly through a career, and you've either got to take the risk and make it happen for yourself, or you've got to have the time and patience to build the experience to see that next opportunity.
Are you seeing a lack of patience with the younger generation?
I sometimes, but I think there's also there's a sense that I should move faster. I should get further where I want quicker, and it just doesn't acknowledge the fact
that would be patience.
The world doesn't operate that way. I mean, to me, it's like if you want to do that, you kind of have to go do it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't expect to go into a large company and go from entry level to a manager to a director to a VP in a couple of years.
3 years. Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. So I think it's just having that patience and that time and realizing, like, you know, you're not going to know everything you want to know at first, but gravitate towards the things that light you up. What gets you excited every day?
One of my mentors told me when I started 21 Handshake, and he actually still says it to me today. He goes, go sell air.
Right.
Like you're not gonna know.
Right.
And the guy across from you at your age doing what you're doing, he knows that you're not gonna know, but he might think that you know more than he does.
Right.
And he might like you and give you a flying chance in hell and trying to figure out what the hell you're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
But patience. So all right. So put the work in, patience, that kind of stuff. This is the final question. Usually the final question. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
It's interesting. So.
Or your kid. You got kids.
Yeah, I've got
same thing.
2 daughters, 12 and 10, so soon to be 18. Mm-hmm. I think I would tell myself, don't be surprised. You know, don't. You know, I got into digital marketing and I said, I told myself, like, you know, I'm going to get into this and I know I'm always going to be learning. And I knew that in my heart. But, I mean, there have been periods in my career where, I mean, I remember, like, when Facebook came out and Twitter and all these things, and I kind of started, it was like my initial reaction was to kind of like, I can't go there. Like, I'm not prepared to be social. You know what I mean? And so I think you reach these points in your life where you've got to remind yourself, like, it's a changing world, and you can't settle and think everything's going to be fine and that you're going to just cruise along with what you know. And I think,
so,
you know, I told
prepared
myself
to be
that,
stumped, you're going to be surprised, like you're going to find a crossroads, a fork in the road.
Yeah, and there are going to be those periods where you're not going to know. And as a confident, brash 18-year-old, you know everything,
that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think just reminding myself of that, because I think that's the mentality that keeps you nimble, right, in this world of constant change. But as you grow and age and get comfortable, it doesn't always feel natural. So I think just going back to that.
Do you find that to be true? Do you find that it's easier for you to accept change maybe 10 years ago than it is today?
You know, it's funny. It comes in waves. It's like, I mean, right now I feel totally wide open to it.
Okay.
You know? But like I said, you know, there have been points where I felt like it's too much. Like my learning curve is I don't know that I can learn all this anymore.
So the way I look at it, especially in sales, marketing, that kind of stuff, is the absolute is another human has to say yes.
Right.
Everything else behind that is fair game.
Yeah. That's a great
That's
point.
it.
Yeah.
That human's got to feel, not think, feel.
Yep.
What they need to feel to say yes. A lot of people think they think through things.
No.
It's emotion.
It is emotion first.
It's emotion.
And then they justify with all the
with
thinking.
their thoughts. I like that. But from here, that is the point. Whereas that is the constant point.
Yeah.
From what that takes, there's a new app we don't know about 3 years from now that our organization or I might have to do individually or whatever's going on, we might have to be a part of to get that person to say yes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that person says yes, mostly the transaction takes place, you're good.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
That's really about it.
That's true. That hasn't changed at all.
No, you got it. Well, Keith, thanks so much, man, for taking a few moments.
Having me.
It was
I really
cool.
appreciate it.
It wasn't too stressful.
No, not at all. You're,
right.
you're a great interview. Make it easy. And with beers.
Yeah, it's a pretty good proposition.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a beer, we'll put you on film, and
Yeah.
you know, if you hate me, we'll buy 2 beers, you know,
Right.
that kind of stuff. No, where can we find Keith?
So my website is up at perceptant.com.
Okay.
I'll send you the
We'll
link.
put that. We'll put that up
so you've
below.
got that,
It'll be right here,
yeah,
across from
down
here, right here.
Yeah.
It'd probably be before the beer, actually. Yeah, I forgot. Okay.
So so I'll relaunching the blog and services, everything there. So
good, awesome. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, that concludes another episode of Hops and Handshakes number 12. Come stop by Elk Brewing here in Comstock Park. They have a phenomenal beer and food, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks.
Cheers.